And here to watch a speech on students, kids.
Early. Why schools start too early.
Hi, I'm Tanya, Samantha's aunt, and I'm eager to hear about why we start too early, because I agree 100%, having had 2 kids go all the way through the school system.
I'm Emily, I'm her cousin, and I already know a little bit about this subject, so I want to know if I can learn something new as well.
I am the lens.
And I am Samantha, and I will be giving a speech today over why schools in the United States start too early, especially for adolescents, and what we can do to stop that on a federal level. Okay, so what if I told you that children didn't need to be getting up for school as early as they are? Most of the children in the United States start school before 8:30 p.m. In some states, like, a.m. I do apologize, 10:30 a.m. That is very important. Obviously, we're not going to school at night. Right, but in schools, such as in Louisiana, some schools start even as early as 7:40 in the morning. This can pose a problem, especially to adolescents, because it is developmentally stunting. They aren't receiving the amount of sleep that they need. This is because adolescents don't really get a rush of melatonin, which is the drug in your body, the naturally occurring drug that puts you to sleep and gets you ready for REM. And of course, REM sleep is one of the stages of sleep where you get the actual most amount of rest and where your body is achieving the most rejuvenated state and healing things, and your body is in its best process to heal. So that's very important, arguably, for especially adolescents, because they're developing and their frontal cortex are forming. So it's really important for them to get the full amount of regenerative process that they need. And so these kids, we found, aren't even getting those melatonin spikes until 11 o'clock at night. I mean, you can do the math. 11 to 7 is about 8 hours. So if you have school starting at 7:40 in the morning, there's no way you're getting out the door and to school at 7:40 in the morning with a full night's sleep. That's obviously a problem from an academic standpoint, because you're tired for those first 2 hours of class, you're not retaining any of that information. That is hurting our test scores, which is, of course, hurting our school systems, because we're not getting the federal funding that we need, because the test scores aren't there. So this will lead to a bigger problem, and has led to a bigger problem. So what can we do about it? At this point in time, there's no bill or anything like that actually being worked on by the federal government. So the first thing that we should do is a grassroots movement. We need to start educating the general populace, letting them know that this is something that has been researched. This is something that has actual backing, something that parents can ask for their children, something that would be better for their children. So we should get signatures, write to our senators, write to our officials in the government, and let them know that we would like a federal bill that would regulate the school times nationally. And now what this would do is, if we had a bill that nationally regulated schools, it would allow school systems all over the United States, which right now come up with their own time to open and close. For instance, that Louisiana district that likes to open at 7:40 in the morning. With a national bill that covers everybody, schools would have to start at a certain time. For instance, perhaps 8:30 in the morning, which would be more beneficial to the students who need that sleep. Because again, if you're waking up at 7 o'clock in the morning, that's when you're getting enough sleep. That gives you plenty of time to get up, get showered, and do whatever you need to do. This also can be beneficial for parents who have younger children, or who drive their adolescents. I'm sure no middle schoolers are driving to school themselves. So those adolescents that still need their parents to chauffeur them to and from school. Parents usually start work at a later time. The typical work shift is a 9 to 5, everyone's heard, I'm sure. So having a later start time would be more beneficial for parents that have to get their kids out the door and get themselves to work. So it's necessary because of these early times and everything like that, and the fact that the districts aren't regulated by a federal institution or a state institution. They're left to decide open and close times on their own, to have a national bill, a federal bill that would actually control all of this. So just to summarize what we're talking about here, kids in the United States are waking up much too early. It's hurting them developmentally. They are becoming overweight. They're not getting enough physical activity. They're suffering from depression. They're engaging in unhealthy risk behaviors, and they're performing poorly in school. Science says that can all be helped by getting enough sleep, which they aren't getting enough sleep because they're hitting those melatonin spikes at 11 o'clock at night. Kids are having to wake up too early. So the only thing that really would change this on a federal level is a federal bill. What we can do is write to our senators and let them know how serious of an issue we think this is. If you want to do more, please write your elected official and let them know how serious that you are about this issue. And if you would like to do more, because not a lot of people know that this is an issue and know that they can do something about it, starting something like a Facebook group or an informative group at the PTA may be a good start. The sources that I utilized in this speech are listed here. An article, The Early Bird Gets the Grade by Nancy Klush. Got Survey Finds U.S. Schools Start Too Early by Ashley Yeager. And then I've got the CDC's Discoveries on Schools Start Too Early. And then my last source is Schools Start Too Early, Federal Officials Say.
All valid points, but I respectfully disagree. Children need to get ready for the real world, get up early in the morning. If they're not tired at night, make them do some work and they'll go to sleep earlier.
I agree, actually, that the start time is too early. I really do think that we need to take that into consideration, and I think there needs to be more sleep for children.
I also agree. I just recently got out of the school system, and I remember how absolutely stressful it can be when you're tired, but you can't go to sleep, and then you have to wake up in like 3 hours, or depending on however long you get sleep for, but yeah.
And my school actually started later, and it was a miracle. It was a miracle coming from a school that started at 7:40. So it works.